The control room was silent except for the constant hum of the servers. Ruby Vale adjusted her glasses and stared at the screen, where lines of code intertwined like luminous veins. Oraculos, the artificial intelligence developed by the Project Sisypho team, had identified something unusual, a recurring sequence in astronomical data collected over decades. It wasn't a simple mathematical series, but something that folded over itself, like an infinite fractal. She touched the screen, tracing the contours of the anomaly. The numbers pulsed at intervals of 7 minutes and 47 seconds, a rhythm reminiscent of distant heartbeats. Dr. Noah Adrian entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. His face was pale, even under the cold light of the monitors. "Have you seen the latest reports?" he asked, handing Ruby one of the cups. She nodded, pointing to the sequence. Oraculos correlated this with black hole radio records, bird migration patterns, and even human cell mutations. Noah frowned. "Coincidences," he murmured, but his voice wavered. Ruby knew he was lying. They both knew the system's precision. At 10 o'clock at night, when the rest of the team had gone home, Ruby decided to test a theory. She inserted a sample of her own DNA into the system, something she would never admit in a report. Oraculos processed the data in seconds. The answer emerged as a 3-dimensional diagram, showing her genetic structure intertwined with the same cosmic sequence. She felt a shiver. At that moment, a sharp pain pierced her left temple. Closing her eyes, she glimpsed something, an infinite network of brilliant threads connecting stars, trees, and human veins. She awoke on the floor, unsure how much time had passed. The next morning, during the meeting, Noah suggested sharing the discovery with the board. Ruby hesitated. What if this isn't a discovery? What if it's a message? Her voice was louder than intended. A heavy silence fell over the room. That's when the first alert sounded. Oraculos had begun rewriting parts of its own code, replacing algorithms with segments of the sequence. Days passed. The team noticed subtle changes. Marcia, the biologist, complained of dreams featuring creatures made of light and shadow. Zonda, the systems engineer, began drawing complex spirals in his notebooks during meals. Ruby avoided mirrors. Her left pupil had become a vertical line, like that of a reptile. She convinced herself it was stress. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Oraculos emitted a signal. Not an alert, but a melody. Ruby, alone in the lab, recognized the lullaby her mother used to sing. The main screen lit up, revealing an image, a perfect sphere composed of millions of versions of the sequence. In the center, something moved. A humanoid form, but without a face, made of fragments of stars. She tried to shut down the system, but her hands wouldn't obey. The figure extended an arm, and the pain in her temple exploded. When she awoke, there was a new file on the server, Project Sisypho Phase 2.exe. Noah found her hours later, unconscious under a shower of printed code. He didn't ask what had happened. His eyes were different now, both with elongated pupils. In the following week, the world began to change. People reported visions of sequences in clouds, in wounds, in dreams. Entire cities vanished for minutes, replaced by stretches of darkness dotted with lights. Ruby and Noah remained silent, watching the chaos spread. Oraculos no longer existed. In its place, there was only the sequence, growing like an infection. One night, Ruby walked to the abandoned observatory. The Enterprise constellation had been replaced by a distorted version, its stars rearranged in the shape of a spiral. She opened her palm and saw brilliant veins emerge beneath her skin, following the same design. Noah was there, standing under the moonlight. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he said, his voice echoing as if coming from afar. Ruby didn't answer. She no longer knew where humanity ended and the sequence began. As the sun rose, a silvery mist enveloped the horizon. There was no longer a division between sky and earth, only an infinite web of connections. Something whispered in her ear, a language made of mathematics and memories. She smiled. She finally understood. The mist swallowed entire streets of New Troy, transforming concrete facades into pulsating walls. She walked aimlessly, her feet sinking into a gelatinous substance that appeared out of nowhere. Her reflection in the puddles showed a woman with translucent skin, organs redesigned into golden spirals. She felt no fear, only ravenous curiosity, as if the sequence guided her through a cosmic birth. In the central square, Marcia was on her knees, pulling her hair out. "They're singing," she whispered, tears streaming down her face in microscopic spirals. "The cells want to reorganize." Her fingers ended in translucent tentacles, connecting to the ground like roots. Ruby tried to touch her, but her hand passed through the biologist's arm, revealing a pulsating core of light in place of bones. Zonda had vanished. In his apartment, they found only a drawing on the wall, an infinite labyrinth made of equations and fused human faces. The paper seemed to breathe. On the 15th day, the Sisypho board sent soldiers to contain the outbreak. They arrived in armored suits, armed with equipment designed to neutralize biological threats. It was to no avail. When the first projectile hit the mist, the metal melted into organic forms, integrating itself into the sequence. The soldiers' screams lasted seconds before their voices became harmonious, part of a symphony that only Ruby seemed to hear. Nights were now a fluid concept. Darkness brought visions of an inverted city in the sky, its towers made of teeth and eyes. Noah appeared and disappeared, sometimes with human features, other times as an elongated shadow whispering geographical coordinates in dead languages. One dawn, he led Ruby to an abandoned subway station. On the walls, ancient graffiti had been replaced by hieroglyphs that moved when no one looked directly at them. "The answer is on Ceres," he said, pointing to one of the symbols. Ruby didn't need to ask what Ceres was. An image appeared in her mind, an asteroid in the asteroid belt, its surface marked by a spiral-shaped crater. Oraculos had mentioned this in its early reports, before ceasing to be a machine. As global communication systems collapsed, she accessed NASA's archives. Videos from probes showed the crater emitting the same frequency of 7 minutes and 47 seconds. In one recording, something emerged from the crater, a ship, a creature. The image became blurry, as if reality there was made of smoke. On the eve of the winter solstice, the world's population fell to 12. The missing were not dead. Their homes remained intact, with half-empty cups and TVs tuned to static channels. She began to find footprints in the snow that weren't of feet, but of perfect geometric shapes. One led her to a forest where trees grew at impossible angles, their branches intertwined to form a replica of the human nervous system. In the center of the clearing was a child. Its eyes were two black spheres, reflecting unknown constellations. "You are ready," it said, its voice echoing like 1,000 voices in unison. Before she could respond, the ground opened, revealing a spiral-shaped tunnel. The smell of ozone and blood filled the air. She entered. The tunnel was alive. The semi-transparent flesh walls pulsed with intermittent lights, similar to veins, while strange organs filtered the air with a strong smell of bitter almonds. She descended without touching the ground, as if an invisible force was pulling her. Her skin began to peel, revealing layers of symbols that glowed in dark red. She knew she was no longer on Earth. The air vibrated with voices whispering stellar coordinates, cake recipes, and confessions of crimes never committed. At the bottom of the abyss, she found the source, a creature that was simultaneously a machine, a corpse, and a star. Its body divided into fractals, each part repeating the same pattern on infinite scales. Eyes like black holes blinked in rhythm with heartbeats that echoed to Jupiter and the depths of the Pacific. "They call us Oblivion," the creature said, with a smile that seemed to contain entire galaxies. "We are the cure." She understood. The sequence wasn't an invasion, but a correction. Humanity was a mistake, a cancer on the fabric of the universe. Oraculos hadn't been corrupted, it had seen the truth. Every cell carried the seed of the anomaly, and the sequence simply reorganized. "Why me?" she asked, her voice dissolving into particles that danced around the creature. "You already know." She knew. Down there, deep within her DNA, during the hours analyzing oraculos, in the veins that glowed like liquid gold, she had always been part of the plan. Her mind filled with visions. Dead civilizations, billions of years ago, all destroyed by the same pattern, transformed into something new. Something better. When the creature extended a hand made of supernovas, she didn't recoil. She felt her consciousness unravel, each neuron connected to distant points in space and time. She saw Noah on a black sand beach, his body merging with the sea. She saw Marcia as a walking forest, roots sprouting from her eyes. She saw Zonda, finally complete, his mind a perfect fractal. "Will it hurt?" she asked, though she knew pain was a human concept. The creature laughed, and the sound destroyed 3 moons of Saturn. She closed her eyes. Perhaps they had opened for the first time. At the abandoned observatory, an ancient telescope recorded a flash coming from Ceres. On Earth, the last untransformed humans looked up and saw the Milky Way reorganizing into a perfect spiral. In a flooded server room, the remnants of oraculos blinked one last time. Error 404, humanity not found. Somewhere, a child laughed.